Welcome, everyone, to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your keeper this evening, Skep Tock, and with me, I have Minions Prospero,
Hello.
Sora Luna,
Good evening.
Blind Press,
Hi.
and the Harry Channel.
Good evening.
It's so nice to be with you all this evening. It's been a frustrating, strange day on Twitter, and I'm just going to go around and ask everybody how everybody's day was, and then I'll tell you about mine. Prospero, have you had a good day?
Yeah, I did. I spent too much time on Twitter, which was maddening, but
Yes. We spent a lot of the day together, I know.
Yeah, kept bumping into each other. I can't imagine why. Other than that, it was fine. It was just kind of an ordinary day, which is perfectly fine with me.
Nothing wrong with that. Sora, I thought you were finished.
I was gonna say, and how was your day?
Oh, my day was fine, frustrating. I'm gonna go into that in some detail here in just a minute with respect to the situation in Israel. So, have a lot to say about that this evening. But at any rate, well, good. I'm glad you had a normal day, except for the Twitterverse, which was a sewer verse today, in my opinion. Sora, how about you? How was your day?
Well, it was pretty good. We did a workout because we got a bunch of supplies delivered finally, and so we had to Tetris a small cupboard. Everything is sore.
I know just what you mean. Know exactly what you mean. Yeah, if we twist this way,
that's always
two
fun.
of these. Yeah, mm-hmm.
Good use of Tetris.
If we empty these
I
six,
like that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Well, that's exactly what we did. That's quite a fitting verb.
It's perfect. It really gets across the cramped nature of Tetris.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people who would see the closet that you filled and they'd look at it and they just go, aliens. No human could effectively play Tetris in 3D.
Yeah, exactly. So they're good. How about you, Blind Press? How was your day?
My day was all right. I had Alex home with me all day because my mom had some meetings she had to be out of her apartment because she bought herself a new house. So her landlord was showing the apartment she's in right now. Mm-hmm. So she couldn't do homeschooling with Alex this afternoon. So we did his school, and then he watched me play Mortal Kombat against another blind player, and it was really cute because the character my friend was using, her name is Devora, and she is an insect lady, basically. And so Alex kept calling her Bug Lady. It was very cute. Why is Bug Lady beating up Joker? Well, because Bug Lady, my friend is playing better with Bug Lady than I'm playing with Joker. No, I want you to beat Bug Lady because Bug Lady's winning, and I want you to win, Mummy.
Aww.
I was never that nice to my mom.
You keep dropping your right and forecasting your left hook, Ma. It's just quit doing that.
He was telling me because she has a teleport move. So he was, she's on your left now, Mom. Now she's on your right, Mom. It was so cute.
They're doomed to be gamers, I think.
He's going to grow up to be a card reader in Vegas.
I mean, with both BP and Pincalo, yes.
They're already gamers. They're already gamers.
It's in their blood.
Yep.
How about you, Harry? How was your day?
I don't know. Do you know what Kubernetes is?
I don't.
Yeah. Why is that ringing a bell?
That's how my day was. It started. It started out with, hey, this thing that a developer who's very clever put together a couple years ago isn't working this morning. Oh, really? Do tell. And so it was just one of those. That's not the way I like to start my day. With, hey, this has been running just fine for 2 years and now it doesn't work. What happened? Yeah, that's always a good way to start the day. But I get paid by the hour, so I don't care.
Kubernetes is like it's some operating system thing, isn't it?
It's a system for basically, it's a system for running applications in these little jails, which are called containers.
Oh, is that a container management thing?
Yeah, it is. You can basically say, I want these services running on these containers, make it so, and sort of keep them running. It's not just launch them like fire and forget, and then we all go off to the bar.
Right.
It's a system for running applications in containers and managing said containers. And I'm obviously simplifying a very complicated topic, so don't bust my balls, anybody.
No. This is one of those. Okay, and likely we're talking about Linux. I would imagine, although I don't know, it might be part of Windows. I have no idea.
You can run containers on Windows, but we really.
I know you can run containers. I just don't know about Kubernetes. I don't know enough about it. It's an application, right? Or is it?
It's not. It's more of a framework for running applications in containers.
Okay.
But yes, anything that's not the kernel is basically an application. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
No, it was just a very high tech day today. I had to talk to my biggest customer and just said, look, you don't want me working more than a certain number of hours. You want me to do all of these things. You should probably decide which subset of these you really care about.
Yeah. We're going to work on something called prioritization. That's a big word, isn't it? Sure it is.
Would you like me to just, take care of all these short-term things and keep everybody happy? Or would you like me to make them sad and also work on long-term things to the exclusion of the short-term things?
Yes.
It's called managing upwards. And it's a thing you do as a consultant when you have customers to keep happy.
Almost exclusively.
Yeah, that's really what being a consultant is. It's not about having skills. It's about knowing how to manage upwards.
It's managing upwards to me, and I essentially made a career of it. To me, it is having all the responsibility and not having any
authority,
any stated authority.
Yeah,
but you have the authority of being the one who knows how stuff works.
Yeah.
And that's a different kind of authority. Anyway, we could talk about that at length at some point. But it's an interesting concept. I've done a lot of managing up. I can appreciate that.
We could talk about total quality management sometime. You and me and about 2 viewers. It'd be great.
I think you will. Let me tell you my raft of stories. Yeah. Saddam Hussein had a very aggressive zero defects program when he shot that general at a meeting. Anyway,
he knew how to control a room. That's for damn sure.
Do I have your attention now, gentlemen? Yes. Let's see. Keep the blood off my cigar. Anyway, it's been a Twitter day for me. I spent a lot of time on Twitter reacting to and talking about the violence that's going on in Israel and people's reaction to it, and countries and organizations' reactions to it. It is absolutely infuriating. What basically has gone on in 1948, Israel was created and the Arabs started to attack it. I mean, that's basically Israel's story. They keep attacking it. Israel hands them their ass, makes them an amazing offer for peace that will last in perpetuity, and the Arabs turn them down, wait 5 years and attack them again. Exactly. And get their asses handed to them again. Israel makes an amazing deal, cedes territory. They cede amazing amounts of territory, give up 1/3 of the square acreage of the square miles of Israel, and still these assholes want to take over all of Israel, take over all the infrastructure that Israel has built, disperse the Jews who live there back, what they say, back to Europe, even though most of them didn't come from Europe. Now most of them were born there.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a nice version of it.
Yeah, this is just brutally unfair. So one of the places that they seeded is called the Gaza Strip. It's on the southwestern part of Israel. They seeded a strip of prime beach land, and about 11 kilometers inland, a long rectangle worth of land, and they ceded that to the Palestinians. So the Palestinians took it over. They elected Hamas to lead them. Hamas is a political party, but they're really a terrorist group masquerading as a political party. And so what Hamas wants to do is to take over the rest of Israel and kill all the Jews, or disperse them to other countries, or put them in prison camps, or whatever. But they want the Jews destroyed. And so they are sending rocket attacks, and they have been doing this like constantly for the last 24 hours into different parts of Israel. They just shoot rockets out of this little, rectangular area. Israel, which has complete air superiority, sends F-16s, F-15s, F-16s in there and just, bombs the shit out of the launch sites and the known weapons depot inside Gaza, for which they have intelligence about it. And still the rockets come. And now they've killed some of the Israelis, and the Israelis are really pissed off about this. And what's really going on here is the Palestinians are broken into the Palestinians who live in the West Bank and the Palestinians who live in Gaza. The Gazans are led by Hamas. The Palestinians who live in the West Bank are led by the Palestinian Authority. Additionally, there's one other terrorist group, and the Palestinian Authority is a terrorist group masquerading as a party, and they have a more fragmented group of people in the West Bank for a lot of reasons, where they live together like a deck of shuffled cards with Israelis. With lots of Jews live in the West Bank, and there are Jewish settlers in the West Bank. And one of the big deals that Code Pink and all these liberal assholes want to do is to throw the Israelis out of the West Bank being the part of Israel that is east of the Jordan River. So up to the border of Jordan, and I guess that's Syria on the north part. So anyway, I'm doing this from memory. The upshot of all this is that the Palestinian Authority and Fatah are competing for leadership in the West Bank, and they would like to get popular enough and powerful enough to take over from Hamas in Gaza. But that will never happen because Hamas is so entrenched in Gaza. They've got that place by the throat. I mean, it's like Al Pacino, Scarface kind of criminals. It really is. These guys, and they skim all the aid that comes in. They just take it right off the top and funnel it out to their billionaire buddies in Qatar and places like that, where they have unbelievable palatial castles and live like kings. And there's no help for the people in the Gaza Strip or in the West Bank because it's all corruptly siphoned away in the classic terrorist model. So, and this is so when Hamas began shooting missiles into Israel on a massive basis 24 hours ago, the world got up and said, Israel, stop committing atrocities against Gaza. Stop your bloody oppression of Gaza. Well, what they're talking about is Israel's punitive, retributive raids against Gaza. They're bombing the sites of the rockets that are being launched, killing Israelis. Okay, so no one says anything about the dead Israelis, and they call missiles resistance fighters, Palestinian resistant fighters, and then the Palestinians are terribly oppressed, and they have a right to the land. Well, they don't have a right to the land. The only thing about the Palestinians is they hate the Jews. They despise the Jews. They want the Jews gone. They want the Jews dead, thrown. And they have in the Hamas charter, they have the words "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," something to that effect. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that from the Jordan River to the sea, there will be no Jews. Mm-hmm. That's what that actually means. That's where that comes from. There's a long history behind that. So at any rate, I've spent my day, thanks for asking, tweeting and reacting and staying pissed off about how unfairly the mainstream media and the press, with the notable exception of Fox, is treating the Israelis and the Jews. And this is nothing but not too well disguised anti-Semitism across the board. It's absolutely infuriating. And Justin Trudeau, the Trudeau master, the scum master, fuck. You know, he's in there. He might as well be with Code Pink.
He's an idiot because he is such a two-faced shithead. Because on one hand, right, he's all buddy with Netanyahu.
Right. But he's pro-Palestinian.
But he's pro-fucking Palestine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fucking sick.
And so he says that, well, you know, Netanyahu's government has, agitated these people to where they feel like they have no other choice. Fuck you for Christmas. They have lots of choice. You know, Israel has said repeatedly, here, win the game. All you have to do is pledge nonviolence. You can have trade with us. You will prosper like you can only dream about. And they say, no, we're not going to do this until the international community forces you out of your own country and kills all of you. That isn't going to happen. That's just not realistic. At least I hope it's not realistic. If it's not, it would be a horror on the scale of the Holocaust.
The only reason it's not realistic is the United States.
Die preventing that.
The only reason it is not realistic is the United States.
Right. But Joe Biden
and England and Great Britain, because
right now it's really Great Britain because the dotard in the White House, you know what he said? He said both sides have got to stop the violence. Really? Fuck you.
Oh, didn't somebody else say that there were bad people on both sides?
Oh, that's what everybody, that's practically what everybody's saying.
No, isn't that interesting?
About Charlottesville.
Isn't that interesting?
Oh, yeah.
About how somebody else, some orange-colored man, who what was his name again?
Yeah, good catch, BP, because...
Very nice.
It's
almost a perfect analogy.
It is.
Jesus.
Oh, fuck me. You know.
You just get so frustrated, it ties your tongue. And so I've been trying to have a public therapy session with myself, basically about this. Just thinking that if I put my feelings, my thoughts down in Twitter format, it'll hurt less. It'll make me less crazy than it is. I'm actually going to read I'm not going to read many of my tweets, but I'm going to read a couple of my tweets that I've put out. One of them, I said, there are 2 million people living in Gaza. Nearly all of them just want to live their lives. They didn't ask for corrupt gangsters like Hamas to attack Israel, but they will pay the price for these Hamas monsters. The MSM will lie about it as the UN, quote, deplores it, end quote, for fuck's sake. Mm-hmm. So that it's, Hamas is digging tunnels into Israel, and they use these tunnels, get this, to kidnap children and make videos of them torturing the Israeli children.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you do, you see.
But the Israelis are the bad guys.
Yeah. Right. The Israelis are the bad, having kids so close to Hamas, it's their fault. They're really their fault. Fuck them.
How
You know,
dare how dare they reproduce?
oh, jeez, it's one of my friends says that Israel has an army that can smash terror. I know the concern over appearances, but Israel never gets a fair hearing. Why should her citizens have to suffer? The IDF lost 13 men in a booby-trapped home in Jenin because Israel's care and terrorists are inhumane. Well, they were in there searching for bombs. The thing was booby-trapped, and it was made to lure them in and then explode. And it blew up these 13 guys. They did that instead of calling in an airstrike because they were concerned they might kill citizens. Instead, they lost 13 heroes. Fuck you for Christmas.
Oh yeah, but
I'm absolutely fucking furious.
You're not going to see that. You're not going to see that on the front page of the New York Times.
Oh no, absolutely not. Ilhan Omar came out and said it was a blow for the resistance. Hooray for Palestine! I'm glad those IDF guys were killed.
There was a huge rally in Toronto with nothing but Palestinian flags as far as the eye could see.
Yep.
Oh my God, I watched that. I watched tape of that, and it's from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. Just the standard stuff where Jews out of Israel, Jews out of Israel, Jews out of Israel, over and over and over again.
Well, Dankula could give them a few hints.
God.
Well, and that's the other thing is that they roasted Dankula for a joke.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Fucking 3 years ago, and now it's wow.
They can just flat out. They could flat out stand there and chant in Ottawa, "Gas the Jews."
Yeah.
And nothing would be done.
Nope.
No.
Oh, well, that's just free expression. Meanwhile, in Alberta, some guy's getting arrested for opening his church.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they've shuttered the church. They've locally here. They forced the closure of a church that was holding in-person services in spite of the restrictions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Though, if you want to stand on the street and call for the eradication of Jews from Israel, and by any means necessary,
right?
And if you think they're going to relocate those people,
in the Mediterranean, maybe.
Yes, yeah, or in the River Jordan, or in the Dead Sea, or
or in the desert plains of Western Jordan. Actually, that's where they just have mass graves. That's their fantasy, is that that will happen. And people like Mia Farrow. When was the last time you cared about her? Mia Farrow comes out, and has a statement to make about, who the hell cares about Mia Farrow?
Not I.
What?
She was good in radio days, but she can shut up now.
Yes, she can. She's not all that bright.
Rosemary's Baby, wasn't she in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was married to Frank Sinatra.
Yes, she was.
Briefly.
Yeah. Ava Gardner's comment about that was, "I knew eventually he'd end up in bed with a boy."
Oh,
snap!
Oh, that's mean. Holy shit!
Ava Gardner was she didn't pull her punches.
She didn't mince words. She was
wow.
She was legit a tough broad. Yeah. That's what she had to say about that short-lived foray into marital bliss.
Well, let's stop before I start talking about Angie Dickinson. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, so when you have a really superior military power and you've got a group of insurgents, what tends to happen is it's a classic pattern. This is what's happened ever since Flavian tactics were first developed. You basically pick and pick and pick away at the superior power. And in the modern times, you've got this whole new dynamic, which is you can just sort of use it for victim points to gain concessions, because outgroup preference seems to be this new thing that everybody's addicted to.
Yeah.
You get enough of the people in Israel who feel sorry for the Palestinians, and then even their own government has to deal with their own people turning against them. It's very hard to maintain military pressure against a group like the Palestinians because of things like that. It doesn't mean you don't do it. A guy like Netanyahu doesn't care, and he's got enough enough people behind him that he can do this sort of stuff. But the last thing in the world the Palestinians want is for their movement to grow to the point where it's literally side A lines up over here, side B lines up over here, and then they all meet in the middle for like this big melee.
Yeah.
Because they will lose any sort of engagement along those lines. They would just flat out lose.
Actually,
So-
while the Palestinians are lining up, they'll be annihilated. That's actually the way that will go down.
Yeah, this is the level, this is the peak level for political reasons, for political purposes of conflict for them. Now, from what I was able to glean from the media, and I know that the media is all wrong, I guess there was yet more pressure to put Jewish settlers in more places. And the Palestinians said, harumph, this is an outrage. And then they gave them an ultimatum to, pull these people out or else.
I'm going to stop you just for a quick minute.
Please.
And explain to you about what the deal with the settlers, that the specific thing that is happening there right now.
Yeah.
All right. Back in the day, in 1948, the area of the West Bank that is in question, where the settlers, the Israeli settlers, quote unquote settlers, are going in and evicting Palestinians. Here's why they are evicting them. First of all, it's a court order from an Israeli court to evict them. They have done this the right way. All this is done. The other side doesn't contest this. Mm-hmm. And the reason that they got this order was because in 1948, Jordan conquered that area, took it away from Israel, and said, this is ours now. And the Israelis who lived in homes there were forced out. They had to flee for their lives. They became refugees. So when Israel conquered it back in 1967, they said, we are going to seek to return the people who own this property back to these areas. Meanwhile, Arab families had moved into these homes and have been essentially squatting there, since 1948. That's why they talk about the generations of people who've lived there, because they've lived there illegally on homes that they took illegally from Israel. And so the court naturally ruled in favor of the original owners of the titles, and those titles have been passed down through the years. And so now these people have come back, and basically what they want to do is they want to knock down these houses and put up new houses and apartment buildings and stuff like that, modernize the area. And the squatters there who are living in squalor, basically inside these houses, say, no, we want to keep these. These are our homes. These are our traditional homes. Well, your traditional homes since your countries, you stole them, from the original owners by running them off at gunpoint. That's not a good legal transfer of real estate title. So we're taking it back because we took this land back. And now we finally have an Israeli court that agrees with us, and we are evicting you. So when they came to evict you, when it came the day of eviction, the day of no more appeals, no nothing, and they've had every benefit of the Israeli legal system in doing this, and they've had the best lawyers money can buy to do this. The Palestinians put up a fuss and said, it's time for the rockets, basically. And so here's what's really going on. Hamas is competing with Fatah and the PA, the Palestinian Authority, who hold sway in the West Bank. Fatah basically holds sway of the Palestinian media in the West Bank. And PA is actually the governing political party in the West Bank. They want to show each other that we're more for the Palestinians than Hamas is. Hamas says, no, we want to show that we're more for, the Palestinian people. And that's why they started throwing rockets into Israel, because the PA and Fatah were getting all this great publicity about how pro-Palestinian they were and how they were fighting for people's rights and trying to, keep these evil Israelis from evicting these people from their homes, putting the babies out into the street, and shooting all this, phony Pallywood crap, and putting it on the air. Meanwhile, the Hamas says, well, you're getting all the good press. We want press too. And that was what started the rockets. That's what Hamas is really doing, is competing with the Palestinian Authority and Fatah for attention. You want to really know what this is about? That's what this is about.
Campaign season.
Yes, campaign season, basically.
Yeah, well,
in a way, you're right.
The ultimatum was they knew the ultimatum wasn't going to do anything. It was just a pretext to launch the rockets.
Exactly.
And
exactly right.
It's all just a pretext. And because they have to, they have to keep the pressure up at the level that it is now a lot. Otherwise, they become useless, right? And there's a lot of money that goes to these people who supposedly help run the Palestinians. And it comes from all sorts of different sources. I don't know if our friends, the Saudis, are still sending them money, but throughout the Arab world, there is a lot of people that keep sending money to these people, and it doesn't trickle down to the people who live there nearly as much as it should.
Okay.
Well,
A lot of these guys end up being very rich.
Skimmed off the top.
If you'd like to know the inside
I'd love
on
to know
Saudi money going to Palestine, the Saudi government no longer supports the Palestinians financially, formally. However, and it's a big however, individuals inside Saudi Arabia, mischief makers, essentially LARPers, a la in Osama bin Laden light, send money so that they can virtue signal how they support the Palestinians and be popular among the Western elites with whom they hobnob at cocktail parties in Nice.
Yeah, and that's no better than the Irish Americans or the Americans who identified as being Irish.
Oh God, yes.
Sending money to the IRA.
To the IRA. God, that Teddy Kennedy. Looking at you, Teddy Kennedy.
Well, it's like Fatah PLA.
I'm an excellent driver.
It's kind of like this. Well, isn't the Fatah PLA model basically kind of the Sinn Féin IRA model?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hamas is more like more like the IRA. And maybe PA would be Sinn Féin.
I can't remember which one is the political arm. Sinn Féin is the
Sinn Féin is the political arm.
The ones.
And then the IRA is the
the army,
the bombing guy,
the paramilitary. Yeah.
Excuse me. So anyway, I've been doing that, and then Justin Trudeau comes out, and both sides need fuck you. I wanted to slap his insouciant face.
Well, but the Palestinians know they can't win. So this, to me, just seems like a campaign to enrich the people at the top of the Palestinian food chain.
Okay.
And I don't see how I don't think there's an end game here where, Joe Palestinian is going to come out ahead.
Okay. It's important to understand the real rules, the real objectives. Okay. The real objectives for Hamas is status quo. Hamas wants things to go just like this forever. You know why? They make money hand over fist. They take these big UN awards and these presents from Saudi billionaires and just take it. They just glean it right off the top. And they send it to their Hamas buddies that essentially divvy it up. And then $1.50 probably actually goes to the causes that it's earmarked for. There's no accounting, no accounting at all. The money is just turned over to them. They say thank you, and then they divvy it up into their Swiss bank accounts. That is literally what is happening.
Yep. That's what I mean. They want it to stay at exactly this level. This is
exactly
just
this
the
is
slow,
just
the slow boil, because they know they can't win an actual confrontation, and they're never going to get quite enough political juice to do anything more than annoy the Israelis.
You're absolutely right. But see, Hamas has to tell three different stories.
Right.
Okay, Hamas has to sell it has to sell the world that Gaza's really suffering. Okay, so they make sure that people come in, videographers come in, see the worst parts of Gaza and see how bad it is, and they take that out to the world so they'll get money. They have to tell the people in Gaza that they're doing well. So inside Gaza, Hamas talks up about how great things are going, and there are parts of Gaza that are still very nice. It's always been a resort area, and it's actually very nice in places. And so they talk that up with them. And then the third story is what they tell themselves, basically. And that is the real politic of needing to keep the conflict exactly where it is, just exactly like you described. Now, see, this is where Hamas is different from the PA. The PA actually wants progress, but they also want the Israelis thrown into the sea. I mean, they will literally tell you, we want to put them in the sea. We would drown every man, woman, and child in Israel, every single one of them. And just so that we can have that land. They're very acquisitive that way, and they actually harbor the fantasy that that's going to happen someday. Mahmoud Abbas is in I believe he's in the 16th. Is it the 16th or the 11th year of his 4-year term? Anyway, he was elected for 4 years, and then he has prohibited elections since then. So he is effectively the dictator of the PA. And essentially is a PLO dictator, and the PA is running things with Fatah. It's envious but willing accomplice, who is sitting there. And they would love the chance of an election to tell them how much better they can do than Mahmoud Abbas. And Abbas is he's getting meaner and crazier as he gets older and older. Mm-hmm. So that's a very weird situation. And the situation, like I described, is with Israelis shuffled in there amongst the Arabs who live in the West Bank, which paradoxically is the eastern side of Israel. It sounds funny to call it the West Bank, but it has to do with
the Jordan River,
the West Bank of the Jordan River, right? And which traditionally has been the home of the Jews. Israel. What I've always said is Israel should take over the thing, kick the Arabs out. That would have been the militant thing to do. And now in hindsight, it might have been the right thing to do. Kick them out into refugee camps in Jordan and say, you fucking deal with them, because most of these guys are from Jordan anyway, so fuck off. And that would have solved a host of problems there. Mm-hmm. As it is, there are places in their own country where Israelis cannot go, where Jewish Israelis cannot go. If you're not an Arab who speaks in the dialect from that town, you better not go. There's parts of Ramallah they can't go to, because and it says so on the highway. It says, if you break down, call at this phone right here and stay here until the police get there. Otherwise, if you go into this town, if you're Jewish, you're taking your life in your hands. You will be killed. You'll be killed or
and
killed.
The Palestinian state claims Ramallah as its capital.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which is like, except you see, no.
Yeah, and Mahmoud is their elected president.
Yeah, which is why, if I recall, Russia sided with us on blocking the admission of Palestine as a state to the UN? I think they have, because see, that's Israel's only other hope.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is there a lot of the UN states already informally recognize Palestine as a country.
Yeah, because it has observer status, and they gave it observer state status, so they gave it some imprimatur of being a state when it isn't.
And the Palestinians will always say we're a part of the UN, and that's what they're referring to. But they're not really they're not a member. They're not a full member of the UN.
Just observer status, yeah, it's not.
But if Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar get their way, not only will they be a member of the UN, but Israel will be kicked out. That's a quiet little movement people don't know very much about. Is the movement to kick Israel, to delegitimize Israel and kick them out of the UN. It's a little bit of Palestine inside baseball that from the fever swamps that they fantasize about doing. There's no real way to do that for them, but it's there are a lot of Arab states in the world, and their holy book inveighs against Jews, and they are brought up hating Jews. And Israel is 3/4 Jewish. It's 1/4 not Jewish, 1/4 Gentile, oddly enough. Israel is 25% Arab Gentile. Think about that for a minute. People think it's all Jewish, and it's not.
No, not at all.
They have generals in the IDF who are Arabs, who are Arab Muslims. Generals in the IDF. They're guys in Mossad. There are tons of Arabs in Mossad. Anyway.
Everybody loves a winner. And
thank you for letting me have my brain bleed in public here, guys. I'm sorry. I think I needed that. I really do feel better.
I have a bit more though, if you're
please.
Up for it.
Yes.
So I spoke with an Israeli engineering student a couple years ago, and he was like, "Oh crap, the rockets are going off again." I'm like, "Oh shit!" So we started talking about, since he was an engineering student, the construction of the rockets. If you go back and look at what was going on with the Germans in World War II, of course they had those buzz bombs, which were not particularly sophisticated
or accurate
things. Yeah, or accurate, and the V2 wasn't particularly accurate either.
No.
These rockets, it's almost a glorified name for them. They're really not much to them. These are dumb weapons, and the Iranians, you would think that with the fine Iranian engineering support that they've been given, that they could build something better. Well, they certainly could.
Those are all Qassams,
But yeah, they're just throwing these things together.
Right.
There's not much to them. And then they go up against the Iron Dome, and it's been doing a remarkably good job. It hasn't stopped every single one of them, but it's a really hard engineering problem to knock an erratically flying, poorly controlled piece of shit rocket out of the sky.
Yes.
Because you have to respond to the fact that it's essentially unstable while in flight.
Right.
So it's the fact that the Iron Dome works as well as it does is kind of amazing. So the cost for them to build a rocket and fire it at Israel is pretty negligible. I would think that the cost of the interceptors in the Iron Dome is probably a lot more. So aside from just being terrible and kind of a nuisance, this is probably costing the Israelis a fair amount of money.
Oh, it's costing them a ton of money. Plus, they're also using the Russian Grads, the BM-21s, and those are better. The Grad means hail, and it is a multiple launch rocket. You just get a ton of rockets, and it just just absolutely can demolish a small area. They tend to land very close together. I know that about them. So they have, I don't know which Grad they're using. I used to know that. I think it's a Grad 1. I think it's the really old Grad 1s.
Well, the Grad is the launcher, not the not the missile. So the missile itself is the missiles not off the shelf.
Yeah, but it's the missiles that they launch from the Grad. That's right. That's right. It's like a mobile launcher. That's right. I remember that. and there's another missile too. I can't think of what it is. No. All right. Well, anyway, but they have it's the one that they can each volley is like 60 missiles. That's what I'm trying to say, and it's a whole bunch of missiles at one shot, and that's a different kind of attack than the individual home tube. I just welded this together. Can we shoot it off tonight, Dad? Rocket that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, this is my senior project for high school at Palestinian
Exactly.
High School.
I got an A. Can we shoot it off tonight?
It's science fair.
Science fair and kill the Jew. You
right?
Yeah.
You laugh, but they teach that stuff in the schools.
Of course they do.
In Gaza, and they have. How will you kill the Jews? They literally have these kinds of things. I've watched. You can see this on YouTube. You can see all this stuff on YouTube. You can see them learning how to identify the Jew and relating it back to those original. See the Jew behind the tree, kill the Jew. That part that's actually in the Quran.
Was it Sora? One of the Sora? Or
yeah, I think it's. No, it's in one of the surahs. It's not, but it's well supported in the hadith, obviously.
Yeah, and the rocks and trees themselves shall cry out, there is a Jew hiding behind me coming to kill them.
That's it.
Yeah, memory.tv, what is it? MEMRI.tv.
Yeah, memory.
Has way more stuff than what makes its way to YouTube.
Yeah. I've looked at some of the memory stuff. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking, the level of hatred and stupid that's going on here,
and these billionaires that live in Qatar, and the Mahmoud bosses, these guys, they live above this. Those people are pawns to them. Mm-hmm. They are merely meat suits that a bomb can be strapped on. That's all they are, which is why the Pallywood bullshit of civilians killed when an airstrike hits the apartment building that the fucking missile launcher was on top of.
Right.
I mean, which is the old Hezbollah trick out of Lebanon. Oh, put it on top of a hospital. Oh, you hit a hospital.
Do you know where? They know where Hamas is?
Oh, these are meat shields. Yeah.
You know where Hamas is?
They have it in a school, or was it a hospital?
No, it's complex? In the basement of a hospital.
Okay, I thought it was in a hospital complex. Yeah. This is how these people are callous, miserable motherfuckers. This is where the equation to the IRA breaks down a little bit, just a little bit, because fuck tons of civilians were killed in the Troubles. Do not get me wrong. But it was not wholesale slaughter. The way this is. And it's simply because they really couldn't get their hands on it because the British military would have put an absolute end to it. So it was all that homemade improvised shit. But terrorists are terrorists. And the fun thing is a lot of the IRA's old shit ended up in Gaza in the hands of Hamas. Because those rat fucks sold it to them. But, you've got the loyals in Southie and Boston. I'm sending my $5 to the old sod, to fight the English. When you hate the English so much that you'll kill Jews instead of what? I mean, this is how fucked up they are.
Yeah.
And this is what a waste of space they are. It is a tragedy, like Harry said. It's just fucking heartbreaking that there are so many civilians trapped in this.
Yes. But
these assholes, just like Adolf Hitler, have waved their freak flag for everybody to see.
Yeah.
They put it in print. There is film of them training people to kill Jews. And they're saying our entire purpose is to kill the Jews. And then you've got college students in fucking Toronto holding Palestinian flags and talking about how terrible Israel is.
And
It's fuck. I mean, they don't know. They don't know. And the public schools are full of anti-Semites. The colleges and universities are rife with them, including most of the Jewish professors in those establishments.
Well, yeah, they're suicide Jews. Talk about suicide Jews for a second, Prospero.
Oh, well, this is the notion.
I love that term that you use. I hadn't actually run into it until I heard it from you.
Well,
it's a thing. It's actually a thing.
Yeah, and some call them ginos.
Yeah. Choose the names home.
Take Brandeis University. The name's a hint.
You take it.
Yeah, but the name's a hint.
Right.
Jewish University.
Right.
They support BDS.
Sign them all.
They support BDS. You see these Upper East Side sophisticate New York shitbags with Jewish surnames. And oh man, if you say something to them shitty about it, they'll call you an anti-Semite.
That's absolutely right. And they'll
hide behind the Star of David and the Kippah where it's convenient. And they will. And I mean,
don't tell me you support Israel. Fuck off. I get that in my Twitter feed all the fucking time.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I'm Jewish and you're not. Fuck off. You know.
Yeah. Well, eat shit. You know.
You're blocked.
Yeah. I mean, but these people support the destruction of the state of Israel, and they run around and they say this, and it's become very unfortunate because there are legitimate things about which you could criticize the state of Israel. This, of course, is not one of them, but there are things that you could criticize them for, and these assholes, because they've said just because I'm an anti-Zionist doesn't make me an anti-Semite, and they've got all these people believing it. It's nigh on to impossible now to criticize Israel with any legitimate claim against them without being called an anti-Semite. Everybody's poisoned the well because of this. Yes. And the suicide Jews are at the heart of this poisoning of the well.
You're absolutely right.
And there are suicide Jews.
Ariel Gold.
Yeah. Oh, Ariel Gold is a piece of shit. Hi, Ariel.
Yeah. Bite me, cunt.
But it's
sorry if I offended anybody.
Absolutely gobsmacking to me that traditional Jewish universities, that Jewish Marxists, fuck me anyway, but
yeah,
I mean, it's like, what about Stalin? Didn't you guys hear about?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how
about the Jewish farmers in the Ukraine?
How'd that work out for? Yeah. I mean, it's just like, you know, those camps, they had them there too. Yeah. They just didn't write a whole book about it. Yeah. I mean, there are versions of suicide Christians. They're the ones who,
Lord, yes,
you know, they're the ones who are snugging up with the Palestinians, by the way, because after they're done with the Jews, guess who's next? It's a numbers game, kids.
Christians get the bullet too, and don't believe that stuff about people of the book. That's bullshit.
Of course it is. You pay the jizya, and if you're lucky, you live. If you're lucky, you live.
That's, you know what? All right, let's talk about dimitude and jizya just for a moment here, because that's worth discussing.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I need to get.
You can't stand any more of this. I'm so sorry.
The old people are angry tonight.
Yeah.
No.
I don't blame you. This is boring.
No, it's not that. I really do. I've got Alex's school in the morning and all that fun stuff.
Understood.
But there is Canadian Wednesday tomorrow. I have just confirmed with Dr. Functional, and we are good to go for that. And there will be a Beat the Blind Girl on Twitch on Thursday, and the Twitch link is now in my link tree at the very top, and the link tree is linktr.ee/blindpress. And of course, Saturday we're gonna do part 2 of our Sex Among the Stars conversation.
We can get everybody together.
Yeah.
Giggity.
Giggity. Yes.
Giggity. Yeah, indeed. But but come join Blind Press tomorrow. Seriously, it's fun when she and Functional get together. It's an interesting conversational dynamic. I'll just leave it at that. Come and check it out. It's really worth listening to, guys.
Is it just people saying sorry and A alternately?
Yeah,
For an hour.
yeah, that's exactly.
Having a few of our favorites,
Sorry,
eh?
Sorry, eh?
Hey, I'm out of beer. Can I have another one? Sure, here you go.
And by the way, to call back to something else, Dr. Functional said something in chat that's worth noting. He said those Arabs who lived in Israel proper aren't second-class citizens. My father was an Arab Jew from Israel who served.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean it's
They're not second-class citizens, like I said. They are generals. They are everything but rabbis.
Yep.
And so that's
All right, guys. Have a great rest of the stream, and I will see you guys on Thursday.
all right. We'll see you Thursday.
BP.
Good night,
Good
BP.
night.
Sleep well, babe.
Functional just
I
said
bring a rage to Canadian culture.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's well, it's anybody can get a rage on.
Yeah.
I mean, I've just been screaming and flapping my hands about stuff people have heard me talk about before. BDS, Jews that support BDS make me sick.
Mm-hmm.
They make me sick.
Yeah.
And it's like upper class American twit college students who support Marxism. It's
Yeah.
the same kind of, what are you, fucking idiot? It's a suicidal notion to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel.
Mhm.
Why would you want to cause harm? Israel gave up a third of their territory after they were attacked in an attempt to make peace. And then they're being told they can't even live on a square inch abutting it.
They gave up the Sinai that they had conquered, which is 8 times the size of Israel.
Well, actually, they just probably took one look at it and said,
Oh yeah, they said, "Fuck this. We're not taking care of this."
let Egypt worry about it.
Exactly.
And
But
it is,
seriously,
yeah, I mean, they beat the fuck out of Egypt in that war. They beat
did.
the fuck out of Syria. I
Yep.
mean, it's just people keep screwing with them. They keep beating the fuck out of them. And like Harry says, those were nation states going after them. This is an insurgency movement.
But now
Yeah.
they have a trade agreement with Egypt. Isn't that interesting?
And Egypt
Egypt's
has
doing very
stronger,
nicely.
and Egypt has a stronger barrier against Gaza than Israel does.
I know. I think that's wild.
That's because the Egyptians don't want those people anywhere near them.
Hey, you brought up. I wanted to make this point. I wanted to make sure I made this point. There are truckloads of medical supplies and food for the poor. They go from Israel into Gaza every single day.
Yeah.
Even now, even with Gaza sending rockets into Israel, those deliveries are continuing to be made, and people depend on those. Gazans depend on the largesse. They have to find Arab drivers, because if they send an Israeli driver to deliver the charity into Gaza, they would be killed.
Yep.
Not they might be killed. They would be killed.
Yep.
It's
insane.
It is insane. And then to have a world leader like Trudeau come out and say, well, both sides need to de-escalate the violence. Fuck you for Christmas. That is so wrong. It just makes me absolutely nuts.
Trudeau has that effect on a lot of people. And I mean, if I could pick up Biden and just bitch slap Trudeau with him, that would be a lot. That could be a lot of
Biden
fun.
is a complete useless waste of space.
Of course he is, and I'm willing to bet that Kamala Harris's sympathies lie with Palestine. I don't know. It's just a feeling.
She has made pro-Israel noises in the past, but it's always been. It's always had some political motivation. I tried to discern where she stood, and interestingly enough, she has not actually been noisy about supporting Palestine. I get the feeling she's not that into it.
Okay, good. That would be lovely. It would be lovely in that event that she was more of a Clintonista, because as galling as it is for me to give credit to a Clinton for anything,
it's the only thing they did right.
They've never wavered in their support of Israel.
It's the only thing they never did. And Obama was execrable on Israel. He was execrable.
He was. And John Kerry can't be trusted.
John Kerry's a whore.
For a number of reasons.
John Kerry is a whore who says, I love you.
Yeah. Like, kiss me on the mouth.
Yeah.
No kissing, John. No kissing. You
God.
Piece of shit. It's just, Biden's non-compass meant is John Kerry's actively disgusting. He's like a venereal disease culture across here. It's just maybe that was a little rude, but I really dislike the man.
I'm with you. Anyway, so that's kind of the Israel situation. That probably beat that to death. I could go on, explain more nuanced things like that. Harry, have you got anything else about this?
Sorry, I was typing while I was searching. I was trying to find out more about the Iron Dome, and you get very conflicting information. Some people are saying the rockets cost $50,000 each per interception. Others say it's $80,000. But it is.
They never pay retail. They're Jewish.
No, they never pay. Yeah,
and they sell a lot of soda streams.
They haggled them down. It's okay.
They started at 80. What are you doing to me?
Okay, so for instance,
at the market.
So each of the batteries that basically fires these interceptors costs $100 million.
Yeah.
Are they rechargeable?
In the 2014 war with Gaza, they deployed 9 of them.
9.
And each individual missile, depending on who you ask, is anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000 per missile.
That's a lot of moolah they're throwing up in the air to keep that shit from landing on them.
To knock down a missile that is probably got about $75 in it.
Yeah. It's basically somebody went to Home Depot with an attitude. It's not much of a missile, but
nails and ball bearings.
But here's a piece, excuse me, that I did not know about. In 2017, the system was upgraded to a precise interception capability of about 120 and 160 millimeter mortar shells, a little more than a half meter in length. Now that's pretty amazing. That isn't even taking out rockets. That's taking out large projectiles. And it's currently undergoing a series of upgrades that will enable it to hunt for snipers and drones within a range of up to 10 kilometers.
Awesome.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that
heat-seeking fuck you missiles.
Well, they also have Patriot batteries.
Yeah, they do.
In addition to the Iron Dome. Yeah, I know.
They use those against the Scuds, and when the first Desert Storm kicked off. Skep, did you have sound issues?
You were roboting a little bit.
Oh, okay, because you surged for me.
Okay.
And then I heard a lot of in the background, so maybe it's me. I don't know.
Okay.
Am I okay now?
Yeah, you're absolutely okay. Yeah, the Patriot batteries, I don't know. I have not kept up with improvements made on the Patriot missiles. Do you know anything about that, Harry?
The Patriot missiles? No, I haven't really been keeping up with it. I've done a little bit of looking at the weapons systems on aircraft carriers recently. They, of course, continue to just get better and better.
They're pretty awesome, actually.
You just had, what was it, the Sergeant York, where it would just hurl a wall of lead at whatever was coming at the ship.
Yeah, that was actually the Phalanx. It was called the Phalanx system.
Now it's like, we're pretty sure we're getting phasers sometime soon. Let's put a second reactor on it.
They actually are doing some interesting energy weapons, some interesting laser energy weapons.
There is an update on the Patriots. Rafael and its U.S. partner, Raytheon, are saying they can fire the cheaper Israeli Sky Scepter from existing Patriot launchers. So they're looking at being able to kind of refit the Patriot launchers for the Sky Scepter. And they're calling Sky Scepter a plug and play that can fire from existing launchers, which is nice if the Sky Scepter is cheaper, because the question, this is in Breaking Defense publication.
Yeah, we should just go back to the Nike, because precision isn't nearly as necessary on that one.
Yeah, it's
because it has a nuclear warhead in it.
Stuff.
Actually a very convenient weapon to have for certain types of things.
Sky Scepter is designed to defeat short to medium range ballistic and cruise and other advanced air defense threats, and costs a fraction of other hit to kill interceptors. So that's.
But the thing about this is that when Hamas sends hundreds, and they've been sending hundreds of rockets up against the Iron Dome, what they're doing is they're winning a battle of money, and they're hurting. They're doing fiscal harm to Israel, which has been an enormously successful country. And by the way, the people who say it's because of the foreign aid that we give to Israel,
bullshit.
The foreign aid that we give Israel compared to their gross domestic product isn't even lunch money. It's not even a cocktail. So bite me. It's just not true. Anyway, so I just wanted to get that said, I guess. At any rate,
So, should we talk about something else that? I don't know, a pipeline hack.
Oh my God!
Or we could just talk about Boogie getting thrown in jail. Whatever.
I saw.
They found one big enough, did they?
I saw that. Boogie being stupid to me is less interesting than the pipeline hack. Harry, do you know anything about the pipeline hack?
Oh, I haven't had time to get into it. I know there was a big hearing today where they brought up the phrase "solar winds," in association with this. So I think we will know a lot more soon. Mm-hmm. My thought is, when I hear about something like this. First of all, why are these devices on the net, in the sense of like the actual open internet? Mm-hmm. What is wrong with you people? Doesn't it have a fail-safe mode? Can't you go just disconnect it from the net, reflash the device, and turn it back on, and basically it's fallback safety mode, the mode that it would use if it didn't have a connection to the network? If that's not possible, then a pox on all the people who built this thing for building a system that didn't degrade gracefully.
Yes.
Top men.
Not modularized either, so that you can isolate damage to nodes.
Well, if you drove your car and every time the check engine light came on, it basically slowed to 5 miles an hour and gave you a chance to pull over to the side of the road and then refused to move.
Yeah.
You would not put up with that in a car. And I don't really see why we should put up with that in a pipeline.
No, this will drive the security industry the way I've always, and I watched this pretty up close and personal for 30 years. It's like the bad guys leap out in front of the good guys, and the good guys react and get ahead of the bad guys, and it's a leapfrog game back and forth. And but they really stole the march on these guys. I wonder how they got in.
Okay.
I wonder how they insinuated their malware.
Well, let me check some ethical hacker things while you guys talk.
Yeah, because the downstream effect of all this is that gas prices are going to the moon. The gas stations in North Carolina, most of the gas stations in eastern North Carolina are shut down. They're not selling gasoline.
Yep, and we're going into tourist season, and you know what's in eastern North Carolina? A metric fuck ton of beaches.
Yep.
Um,
That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Are you seeing gas lines where you are,
Not yet.
Prospero? Because you're in Southern Virginia, right?
Well, we're in Central Virginia. But,
Central Virginia. Yeah.
Coming to a theater near us, I'm sure. But according to the New York Times, it's not.
You're south of Northern Virginia. That's the way it's funny. Well, I think of it.
I live south of Fredericksburg. Yes.
Right.
The New York Times is basically saying there aren't gas lines because they're gaslighting.
Right. That's gaslighting.
Dirt. It's
reports of gas lines that are fraudulent. That's the big oil trying to gin up concern.
And there are places that are telling folks that it'll be 3 weeks till they get a delivery.
Sure.
And of course we don't have backup pipelines to offload onto tanker trucks that we could carry emergency supplies because snail darter. How's that Canadian pipeline sounding, kiddos?
I mean, do you know how many?
Meanwhile, everybody down there laughs in Texan.
Do you know how many snail darters you have to eat to make a meal?
Yeah, no kidding. Fuck me.
Save the snail darter. Fuck right off.
What a world we live in. What a goddamn world we live in. We've got idiots that put stuff on open net.
It's a mind-boggling thing.
Where a 13-year-old with a cap turned backwards sitting in mom's basement in Arkansas could hit it.
Hey.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that there will be a white hat side to this, in that it will turn out to make them make modifications to the technological security. This isn't a case of somebody blowing up the pipeline, in a straight up act of terrorism. It was them exploiting our hubris. And this kind of gap in security is inexcusable. I mean, a major corporation would be tearing strips off the trolls in the basement for this shit. Yeah, but we're not hearing about, who wrote the security system for this again?
Yeah.
Yeah, notice we're not hearing. Who the fuck did this?
We've got McAfee.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why my NordVPN didn't work.
McAfee said it's guaranteed.
Fred, I told you not to open the emails unless you hovered over the addresses to see.
But she has really big tits.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so somebody went to .vor. Well done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's God. I mean, it's always for one of a nail kingdoms are lost. Yeah, you're damn right, kid.
Shouting at clouds. Prospero is talking QAnon now.
Nice. I will be shouting at clouds, but I mean, this is seriously stupid. And I mean, I know it isn't a white hat hack.
Well, no,
it's not a white hat hack.
Ransomware is never white hat.
What I mean is that the white hats may be the ones to save our asses from the black hats.
Yeah.
Because apparently the derps who are running the network security for this were like, let's stick it on the cloud along with my pictures of Jennifer Garner.
Yeah.
I'm running into all kinds of stuff. So the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, in February released a whole bunch of a new publication of the Pipeline Cybersecurity Resources Library to provide pipeline facilities, companies, and stakeholders with a set of free, voluntary resources to strengthen their cybersecurity posture.
Well, that's ironic.
Voluntary.
A variety of resources such as cybersecurity assessments, tools, and services risk reduction information standards and guides and training from the CISA, the Department of Energy, and the national labs, and more. Visit the Pipeline Cybersecurity Resources Library to learn more. Yeah, how'd that work out for you guys? It'd be interesting to see how much of this guidance they actually had. Because there have been a lot of papers about this sort of stuff in the last couple of years. People talking about how vulnerable these things are and what needs to happen. So it's not, this is as bad as the presidential daily briefing of bin Laden determined to attack within America was. They had even more warning about this. It's hard to be super sympathetic.
It's my sympathy lies with the consumer.
Well, yeah. I mean for the people who have the operators.
Yeah, and the schmucks who run the filling stations who are getting screamed at. And of course, people were going full toilet paper on this and, loading up every device they can with gasoline. So we're going to have a raft of, oops, don't know how that happened, explosions in people's garages. That ought to be fun.
I got a glass jug.
I know, really. It's
let me put it on the tailgate of my truck. And
your urine sure is tasty, friend.
I'm trying to get the gas to last longer by adding water.
Let's just say
you do that with cough syrup,
There are signs at the gas station that give a whole list of things not to do when filling a portable gas tank. Read those. If this isn't something you do fairly often, actually read those and listen to them.
Yeah, hovering over the fumes coming out of your 5-gallon gas tank as you fill it with a lit cigarette in your mouth may not be the best idea.
Yeah, but it is entertaining when it's on pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah. This is Dr. Darwin.
Wait for someone to film you for TikTok, then do it.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't trust any video platform that primarily films in portrait mode. I'm sorry. If it's World Star Hip Hop or TikTok, it's just not good.
Yeah, it's
like rotate the phone 90 degrees, you idiots.
Yeah, I get so frustrated when the people take these videos of stuff going on, and it's like, are you spastic? I mean, really? It's actually easier to hold your phone in horizontal mode. But no. But my buttons are I don't know where they are if I turn it on its side.
Then they're on the side. I can't remember what they do.
Push the button down.
I try to think, but nothing happens.
This shit was tailor-made for dopey millennials. I'm sorry. It's like the present company accepted.
I keep smelling smoke. I don't know what's going on.
You're thinking again. It's just honest to goddamn God. And on top of the glories that are the New York Times saying the gas lines don't exist and the derp about Israel, we have Fauci basically telling Rand Paul he doesn't know what he's talking about with what was going on with the funding for Wuhan lab. And anyway, he took the funding away.
Mm.
But I didn't know anything. I didn't have anything to do with the funding that I actually approved of. And then I took away.
Do you believe
he's
that
lost track of his lies? He's lost track of his lies.
That's exactly what it sounds
he's
like.
basically saying, well, we funded them until we didn't fund them anymore.
Yeah, he's full of shit. I don't know if he can't remember what went on, and that's legitimately a possibility. I can understand that. But it seems like with something so white hot as this, he would know exactly what went on, who did what to whom.
Yeah. And
he was not able to answer Rand Paul's questions
without being
duplicitous.
Sullen too. He doesn't like it when an actual doctor that practiced medicine talks to him.
No, you're absolutely right.
And Susan Collins, as useless a meat suit as she generally is, got the best on Walensky out of the CDC, who was all.
I didn't get to see that. What was that interview like?
Well, actually, what happened is after Walensky played dumb, she asked for the Washington Post story on this to be entered into the official record.
Who did?
Susan Collins.
Really?
I was like, when did you find a set?
Damn,
Or
girl.
spine or anything.
Yeah. I was like besting it at your own
Why don't you
game.
explain why we're reacting that way, Prospero?
Well, because Susan Collins has been functionally useless.
Talk about the Washington Post story, though.
Oh, the Washington Post story. While all the gaslighters are gaslighting themselves that there was never any reportage about the Wuhan lab doing some of this juicing of viruses by taking the SARS virus and introducing shit to it.
Mm-hmm.
The Washington Post put out a story linking the Wuhan lab to juicing viruses and grave concern that this is where the novel coronavirus, COVID-19, came from. An accidental escape from the Wuhan lab, which was receiving American funding until it wasn't receiving American funding. God damn it. We've had...
Fauci saying that he absolutely did not fund anything having to do with that research, and then it coming out that, well, he funded this intermediary who in turn funded the research and he knew about it, was pretty close to rank dishonesty to me.
Yeah, well, George Soros isn't directly giving money from his own hand to people who are in these caravans coming up. That was it Haciendas? Not Haciendas. I forget. Was it what is the word? Anyway, Sons Frontiers. That group.
Medicine.
No, not medicine. But there's a Housing Without Borders thing. It's one of the 4 big agencies that does this sort of thing. No, it's silly, but to be fair, to go devil's advocate for a little bit, there are legitimate reasons why you might want to study worst case trajectories for these kinds of viruses.
Elders Without Borders.
Yeah, you just don't want the damn thing to escape. I mean, we have labs that study Lassa fever and smallpox and all sorts of things. We don't eradicate those things. The difference is we don't put them in labs next to a wet market with shitty procedures.
In a country with poor controls over their medical procedures, okay?
Anyway,
they could have good controls. They could do that. It's not that they're dumb. It's not that they're lazy. They could choose to do that. It's just if the assertions are true, they were just sloppy. And they were sloppy because they thought, good enough.
It's also probably a different philosophy on the worth of human life, too.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't that long. It wasn't that many years ago. I guess it was a little more than a century ago when you could basically buy somebody for $8 there.
Yep.
Guaranteed virgin at that. Super awesome.
Gone up since then, but
so they've improved somewhat. But just as a brief aside, we have a moment. I once almost went to work for a company who basically built satellite Earth stations, and their biggest customer were the Chinese, because this wasn't the big companies that did that made the big expensive ones. This was a small scrappy company trying to bring the cost down. And I kid you not, the system that they were building for the Chinese at the time did not have a motor to control the direction of the satellite dish. They actually decided it was cheaper just to basically have some guy with a telephone in a tent be near the thing and just tell him to move it whenever they needed to have the thing repositioned. It was cheaper to have like a dude that put a motor on it.
Wow.
That's alarming.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I don't really think I want to work for this company.
Yeah.
If those are the customers I'm going to have to basically design for.
Little Chen, what does your father do for a living? Well,
he drives a satellite. What do you mean?
Yeah, he drives a satellite, exactly.
Yeah, the Chinese people deserve a lot better than the government that they have. And
that's true.
Yeah.
And the thing about China is that the Chinese culture makes them terrible innovators, great workers, big conformers. They're all about conformance and hard work. And they really do work hard. I mean, that is a that's an ethic with most of the Chinese, with the exception of just a couple of the minor subgroups. You really find it's a cultural norm, a hard work ethic. When they're at work, man, they are working. They work hard and they play pretty hard too.
Mm-hmm.
They are deeply into conformance. The only Asian culture that's more that way is Korea, which is the most conformance culture measured by anthropologists to be the most conformance-oriented culture in the world, with South Korea even more so than North Korea, strangely. The thing with China is they don't innovate. They get really good at established stuff, but they're not, they innovate at the point of a gun. They innovate when they need a solution. They figure out something that just barely does what they need it to do, and they go with that and they refine it. They refine that over and over and over. And in terms of big thinking outside the box, historically, they have not been good at that. It takes them a very long time to do that. They're very different from Western thinkers. It's one of the things that's fascinating about anthropology is you can isolate these or identify these characteristics that are, common generally to a culture, and it's a general thing. Obviously, there are individuals who go against the grain, stand out, and so forth. But that was one of the things that fascinated me. I took a year of Chinese culture when I was in college, and it was absolutely, for my anthropology degree, and it was absolutely fascinating. There is so much to know in terms of what they've done, what that culture is. But they really, in a way, the West needs China's work ethic, and the Chinese need the innovation of the West. I mean, that is just a beautiful synergy that should work very well together. If we can keep from competing at the point of a gun, it will serve mankind very, very well. Just an aside that occurred to me. I just wanted to get that out there. Didn't mean to kill the conversation. Sorry.
No. I took a similar class, not probably as gonzo as the one you took when I was at university, because I figured if I was going to be getting an ethnic studies credit, I would take something worthwhile.
Yeah.
So I took this upper division class on China, modern China, and holy crap, I've never done so much reading in my entire life. It was the most insane thing. It's like I was questioning my sanity. Why would I do this much work outside of my major or anything? It was just ridiculous. And I knew I was screwed when most of the people who were in the class were these white kids who were learning Chinese. I'm like, oh God, I'm going to get destroyed. I managed to pull a B out of that. That was actually kind of impressive. But they brought in this guy who was supposed to be the father of the Chinese ballistic missile program. And that was one of the more interesting speakers I've ever heard. Because in terms of the conformity, they wanted to make sure he didn't get a little too full of himself. So they just said, oh, here's a part in, Inner Mongolia, go plow this field full of rocks for a while. Mm-hmm. And then we'll come get you when we think you've done it long enough. I mean, he didn't do
That's actually a very Chinese thing to do.
It is. We're going to make sure that you stay humble. Go there. We'll let you know when you're done.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a really fascinating guy. Anyway, yeah,
So
I
can
agree
see
with
some value
everything.
to that.
I agree with everything you said, but growing up in the West, so many Chinese people were brought over to basically work on the railroads.
Yeah.
There's a huge Chinese community on the West Coast.
Yep.
And, I've grown up with these people. I've got friends. I've known some of these people all my life. They got big into agriculture in California. Yeah, I mean,
Did
just
really well with that too.
Really hardworking, really decent, really wonderful people and just very much part of the community. Even if they still speak Chinese at home, they all speak English and they're part of the Rotary Club and the Chamber of Commerce. And, these are, when you talk about the melting pot and why it's good, this is the kind of example you look at. I mean, kind of like this, they talk about the Sikhs in UK being like this, as British as they can be. I know a lot of very American, Chinese people.
Oh, yeah. Very, very American. I'm always fascinated by the ones who can speak Chinese, because imagine speaking a language where instead of having 26 letters to make your words, to make your thoughts, you had to have most adult Chinese know about 3,500 pictographs. Those are those funny looking squiggly things that they call Chinese writing.
That's a metric fuck ton of material to know.
Yeah. And
it's just...
you will be considered a really good Chinese speaker if you learn 1,200 as a Westerner. They'll still call you a round eye. They'll still sneer, but they'll say, "Hey, this guy can actually speak Chinese." When you hit about 1,200, but it's got to be a particular 1,200, and there are many learning systems that basically teach you the same set of pictographs. But anyway,
so you can't just fire up Rosetta Stone on your PC. And
Rosetta Stone actually does have Chinese module. I don't know how good they are. I don't know if they conform to I'm sure they conform to the standard way you teach Chinese. There's really only one way to teach it. And you start learning pictographs and start speaking Chinese. Start saying the words and start thinking in terms of constructing your thoughts with those pictographs, because that's the way Chinese people think. But anyway, that's I feel kind of spent after getting all pissed off, and I feel all relaxed and like I should be enjoying a cigarette if I still smoked. But, it's just been an emotionally exhausting day, and it's been a day when I was sitting here reflecting. There are people in Israel who are listening for a siren. When that siren goes off, if they've got a basement, they're down in the basement. If they don't have a basement, they are headed down the street knowing that they have 20 seconds or 30 seconds or 45 seconds, some measured amount of time, some amount of time that someone measured from their home to get to that shelter. And if they don't, there's a non-zero chance they'll be killed.
Yeah.
And I thought about that, and I thought about the fact that, I hear the tornado siren, particularly about this time of year in Texas. I hear the tornado siren every once in a while. It means somebody spotted a rotational cloud, probably won't even touch down. And that's my biggest worry, is stuff like that. This really is a great country, and I would deeply appreciate it if we didn't fuck it up.
Ditto. Yeah, they're living the blitz every day.
Oh, yeah, they are really. Every day that it's like, every day the sirens go off, and they get at least one or two missiles, but the last day or so, it's just been essentially constant. And did you guys watch any of the Iron Dome videos? I call them Iron Dome videos.
It looked like a fireworks display.
Yeah.
I mean, to somebody just casually taking a glance at it, that's what it looks like. It was that active.
Yeah.
I watched one with a live reporter, and all of a sudden, the trajectory of the rockets was changing, and it was starting to come to where he was. He got very nervous, and you could see the intercepting missiles going up, and they just explode brilliantly in the sky. And the guy said, we're going to get close to the car over here so we can get under the car, because sometimes even when there's a successful interception, there's shrapnel that comes down out of the sky. It can hurt you. It's killed people. Think about that.
Yeah, just minding your own business and a hunk of shrapnel kills you.
Yeah.
Would you like something light?
Sure.
Please.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Help us.
I am following with great anticipation what's going to happen with Hammer City. I am so genuinely
You're pretty,
Is there
pretty
desert?
invested, aren't you, Harry?
I am pretty invested. I've
there
gone out
desert
and I've
town?
tried to read about
Yes.
their science, their anti-colonial science for water purification. So beautiful. They're going to use lotus
Tell us about
flowers.
it.
They're
Tell
going to
us-
use copper pots and lotus flowers to basically cleanse the water. And that will go fine. But
Where are they getting the lotus flowers from?
Water lilies.
water lilies? Sorry, water lilies. But yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, yes, you can clean, like if you had
Also known as bacteria pads from stagnant pools. But let's
exactly, and totally not going to do a damn thing about Giardia cysts.
Yeah.
But I found this thing. It's not often that I say good things about RT, but RT has a great article on that, and I love this article. The tone is beautiful. Jonestown 2.0 Racism Edition. Radical anti-Semites crowdfund $65,000 for doomed city in Colorado mountains. That's like the best headline.
Yes, I actually saw that headline. It made me smile.
I
also.
say.
A band of anti-colonial and racist activists have liberated, in quotes, land high in the Colorado mountains to build a utopian city for minorities. Commenters are expecting a rerun of the Jonestown cult, but with more anti-Semitism. Openly communist, overtly anti-white, and proudly anti-Semitic, the Black Hammer organization isn't afraid of a fight. The group's Twitter account fires off hourly invectives against the cave beast white race it sees as colonizers, and against the Jewish people it accuses of fundraising the pig departments and prison system that mass incarcerate and kill us every day. Yeah, this is... I don't know why Russia today is so based on this particular topic, that everybody else seems to just sort of pussyfoot around. But I guess they just don't like anti-Semites.
I just love the doomed city.
Doomed city. Not domed city. Doomed city.
Oh my God!
These
Yeah,
guys will colonize Mars. I mean,
they're gonna get so sick.
they're gonna get so sick.
I mean, you
It's-
guys don't have health care like we have here, so well, I suppose they can walk into a random to ask for help.
No,
in an
you know what?
emergency.
You know what they're going to have. They said that they're going to have non-traditional medicine up
Yeah.
there, including crystal healing.
Oh, okay, see, that's perfect. They'll be 100% healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Those
And the-
essential oils really know how to knock
The
down
vibrations?
parasitic infection.
Listen, they need some tourmaline, they need some quartz, they're probably gonna have some lapis lazuli for the extra fancy. You get
aquamarine.
those-
Yeah.
You get those vibrations going, and that's
Find
it. You just realign the chakras, and
Yeah.
bam,
Yeah.
you're
Well,
healthy.
it doesn't work if you
Find
use
a
the
ley
wrong-
line, stretch the
long
patient
crystals,
across the ley line.
and it's not on the right chakras. You got to know what you're doing.
That's
This
right.
is, there's a science to this, not science.
You don't put amethyst on a tourmaline chakra, for God's sake.
They have on blackhammer.org. They have some comments about what we were talking about. Devil colonizer Jews continue Palestinian genocide and terrorism. But this is coming from a publication that says we should be nice to the North Koreans too.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is going to be
devil
so
colonizer
good.
Jews continue Palestinian genocide and terrorism.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God!
Oh, they call Israel isn't real.
Oh my God! Isn't real. Israel state violence,
That's
genocide.
The bleach demon colonizer Jews scream for genocide proudly. You people are nuts. These people
Oh,
are
man.
nuts.
Bleached
I
colonizers. I love
cannot
that.
wait for these people to build their damn city, and then it's that thing from Star Trek. Sometimes having a
No.
thing is not nearly as great as wanting. Just imagine the first night you're in your dirtbag house.
Yes.
And there's no anything, and you're just sitting in the floor in the middle of your dirtbag house going, oh, yes, I finally made it. Now what?
This is Fire Festival 2.0. This is what it is without the FEMA tents.
Yeah.
Releasing FEMA tents eventually.
Yeah, these guys are going to have paper yurts that are, like Harry calls them, dirtbag houses.
You know, it's a lot of work making one of those houses. I don't know if they've realized it. It's a lot.
Somebody's going to die from a paper cut, bruh. That's going to happen.
Filling those bags is a lot of work. I mean, this is not something,
especially in rocky soil.
They'd be way better off just doing a barn raising. You know, go find a barn raising to help out with.
Go borrow an Amish guy
to build a city is going to be. They're going to. I don't even know if they'll finish a third of the houses before they just say screw this and walk away.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to say it got cold last night. We're out of here, and that is going to be that.
Somebody has to tape all of this. This is going to be a great documentary in a couple years. The rise and fall of Hammer City.
That's why I want it on pay-per-view. This is just great. I mean, I will have all the smart food, white cheddar popcorn a soul can eat.
Yeah, in terms of things that I like on the internet, there's helicopters on Mars and Hammer City. Those are my two favorite things to talk about.
Bleached colonists. It's almost like they're pre-washed jeans. Bleached colonists. You know.
I'm in love with this article. It's talking about displacing dozens of Palestinians in the neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah, which is where that's where these homes that I talked about the situation is. Of course, with the purpose of taking these homes and giving them to filthy colonizer Jews. The raids took place right before these genocidal cracker Jews were about to march into East Jerusalem to mark the 1967 colonization of the West Bank and Gaza. That was the time the Arabs tried to destroy them, and they kicked their ass. But anyway, April 22nd saw more white devil Jews and a show of hatred march through Old City, Jerusalem, while chanting "Death to Arabs" and "May your village burn." Stuff that never happened. The Foreign Ministry of Isn't Real had the gall to call this obvious act of colonization and genocide a real estate dispute. That was actually the court that ordered the evictions.
Yeah, well, those were bleached colonizer, pig dog Jews, whatever, something. It's just these guys have taken blood libel to a whole new level.
Yes, this is absolutely
it's freaking satire almost.
They've got a picture of two Palestinians consoling each other after horrid crimes committed against them. Okay, and that's a picture of a father and a son. Then you go down, and there appears to be a newspaper picture of Palestinians fleeing colonial violence from white settler Jews. And there's not a mark of dirt on them, and it's the same father and the same son who were consoling themselves 2 pictures ago.
Was he wearing a white helmet?
He's wearing the same shirt. He's wearing the same shirt. Yeah, he's wearing a white helmet.
So, hooray for Hollywood.
Oh my God. And it's not like I don't want to make light of Palestinians who are injured in all this because their leadership are all idiots. Obviously I don't want anybody to die on either side.
Nobody wants that. That's the whole point of all this.
These poor, so if you were born in Palestine, and you're looking at of all the places I could have been born, why this place?
Yeah.
You're born 20 miles up the road. You're effectively in a democratic paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if you're an Arab. In fact, Israel is actually the best place in the Middle East to be an Arab.
You get voting rights.
Yeah. You have the highest standard of living. You have the most rights, especially an Arab woman. Oh, my God, dude. the rights that are guaranteed by the Israeli Constitution. Shit.
Well, I think
You know?
Iraq wasn't too bad for Arab women, as long as you could get out of the way when Uday and Qusay's party van was rolling down the street.
Yeah, you didn't want them to notice you.
As long as you avoided that,
Yeah.
it was not.
Iran
the worst
was great.
place.
Iran was great for Persian women.
Before the revolution, yeah.
Before the revolution, and Afghanistan had really come a long way prior to the Taliban seizing control.
Yeah.
Egypt wasn't terrible for a while there too.
Yeah.
No, unfortunately,
Egypt has really backslid.
getting rid of Mubarak, because I'm bored and I want to start shit. Hillary was in charge. It's.
Do you know what Egypt's rate of female genitalia mutilation is? You sit down for this. 95 to 98% of females born and raised in Egypt have that done.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
And it's
in the cities it's done by a surgeon. In the countryside it's done by a bunch of women who hold the girl down.
Yeah.
Think about that.
And bury their mistakes.
Yep. Yeah,
they literally don't know what they're missing then if it's that multi-generational.
Yes, it is. It's that awful.
It'll be, if they find some woman who's intact, it'll be like them finding that old guy living outside the domes in Logan's Run. Holy crap.
Yeah.
There's still one of them. Tell us about this.
Yes.
Tell us about this orgasm thing.
This orgasm that we've heard of in the literature.
Yeah. So anyway, that's I don't know. I think we're kind of coming to a natural end of the stream. I think I'm going to send it around the horn and ask for parting remarks and any words of wisdom that anybody has. Unless anybody has something else on their mind they want to put out there. Sora, start us off. What parting words of wisdom do you have for us?
No wisdom tonight, unfortunately. I'm a little bit too pooped for any of that, but I wish everyone a very good night.
Thank you. Thanks for hanging in there with us. It's wonderful that you kept it a foursome. I really appreciate that. I know you were tired.
Always
Harry?
thank you for the invite.
What you got, Harry?
I've thought about this a bunch of times, when I try to make rules for myself and I try to give people advice. I really do think there's a lot of value in being good at something, which isn't to say that you shouldn't learn about a broad range of things, but you don't want to be a jack of all trades, master of none. It's really important to at least be able to do something really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's knowing how to do special stupid tricks with Excel spreadsheets, or be really good at using an editor, or be really good at knowing how to braze pipes, or just something. I think life is kind of cruel to people who aren't good at least one thing. Just a thought that I've had for over the years. I always recommend that to people, especially if you're talking about IT stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Don't learn how to use 5 different editors poorly. Learn how to use one really, really well.
Yes.
And then fight with other people who use a different one, because that's fun.
Yeah, exactly. And loudly proclaim the virtues of yours and the pitfalls of theirs.
Yeah.
That's really important. That's how we amuse ourselves.
But it is important just to know you don't have to master every tool, but you need to master at least a few.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's been my observation that in school, they really don't convey this point to people now. And you end up with a bunch of people that just really aren't good at anything.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And they give them the false life preserver of you can learn anything because all the information's available to you now through the internet.
Yeah, and if I was hiring somebody and I wanted them to do something other than the one thing that they're good at, I could at least go, look, at least I know this person took the time to learn something well.
Right.
I know this person knows how to do that.
Yeah.
The fact that the thing they know how to do well isn't the thing that I want almost doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
But demonstrate that you can do something well, and the rest of your life will be so much easier.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Well said.
Anyway, that's mine.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Prospero, my wing woman.
2 things. Question for you in chat that I stuck in private chat. And
Okay.
thanks, Harry, but a buzzkill for we dilettantes.
I'm sure you could do some things very well.
And sarcasm is probably my
Your forte.
most refined skill. That's not saying much. But it dawned on me listening to Hammer City's press releases that they have actually managed to do something that I never thought was possible, which is make Black Hebrew Israelites seem almost reasonable. And that's a marvel in this world.
Mm-hmm.
That
That is a marvel in this world.
Yeah.
But other than that, my powder is shot. It's all gone.
Yeah, you're out of cannon fodder.
Yeah.
I understand. Well, listen, I want to thank you guys and Blind Press for joining me this evening and hanging in there. It's sorry I had such a bug be in my bonnet about this Israeli thing, but that was just a bit of public therapy I had to inflict on you and all of you guys who come to watch us. Thank you, chat, for coming out and watching us have a little bit of fun together. Me and my friends here on this panel, who I'm honored to hang with a few times a week. It means a lot to me. I'm going to leave you with this. There are some families in southern Israel tonight who don't have members of their family with them anymore. They were alive a couple of days ago. They're dead now. They were murdered by a bunch of people who were being defended by various people around the world. Look and see who's defending Hamas. Look who's defending the Palestinians. And remember who those people are. It's really a pretty good way to tell who really knows what's going on, and or if they do actually know what's going on, who has a malicious hatred of somebody just based on their culture or their religion. It's something to keep in the back of your mind, because there are some very good people in Israel, and they are really being discriminated against by the United Nations, by the world. And if you stand with me and stand against that, you'll be on the side of the angels. So with that, we're going to call an end to this evening. Thanks for hanging with us, guys. The zoo is closed. Good night.
Good night.